Today we are going to talk about the latest reports for Formula One and Las Vegas. Yes, there's been talks for a few months now that Las Vegas could potentially be getting a Formula One race. There's already two races in the U.S. Well, there will be this year. One in Miami, which is a new one around the Hard Rock Stadium, the football stadium, and there will also be the normal U.S. Grand Prix in Austin at the Circuit of the Americas, where it's been for the last 10 or so years. So there's this report from Adam Stern we're going to read about, some of the details, all that stuff, and then I'll talk more about other stuff. But let's look at this report first, some of the things that are being said. F1 and entities in Las Vegas are advancing closer to a deal to bring a race to the Strip, sources tell Sports Business Journal's Adam Stern. And an official announcement could be made in the first half of this year. Sources report that talks have accelerated in recent months and that F1 and the city are now hammering out exact specifics and logistics of the race. F1, which is already adding a second U.S. race this year in Miami, is intent to continue its expansion and wants to run the race in Vegas as soon as next year, though sources caution that any delays in the talks could force the sides to wait till 2024. F1 has been deep in talks for months with the city, the Las Vegas Convention and Visitors Authority, Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak, and businesses around the Strip, and F1 execs have visited the area multiple times in recent months to try to get a deal done. So yeah, I mean, the talks sound pretty intense here. Not like a bad intense, like people yelling at each other like Abu Dhabi at the end of that race. But it's like, this thing's about to get knocked out. They're probably drawing up the circuit as we speak, drawing up the twists and turns of the track. Later in the article, it talks about where they would do it on the Strip, the iconic part of Las Vegas. We'll talk about that here in a second, but it says F1's effort is being led by Global Director of Race Promotion Chloe Target Adams. Also involved is LVCVA President and CEO Steve Hill, who was a part of a delegation from Vegas who went to the U.S. Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas last October. Joe Saward, a Europe-based F1 reporter, reported in November that the plan is for the track to pass the famous dancing fountains outside the Bellagio while running about a mile up the Strip to win Las Vegas. So there you go. Talks are pretty intense. It sounds like this thing could get done pretty soon, and we could have a street race on the Strip of Las Vegas next year or 2024, depending on what happens. Now, what does this mean for F1 scheduling? I don't know. This year, I think, is the record for most races in a year. There's going to be 23 races this year. Only two countries have multiple races in their country, which is the U.S. with Miami and COTA, and then Italy will have their normal Italian Grand Prix at Monza, and they will also have a race at Imola. I can't think of any other races that will have multiple, or countries that will have multiple races, so if I got that wrong, let me know. Tell me in the comments or something. But it's quite the intriguing venture, I would say. Yes, now there's the talk or the discussion, should one country have 3 races for F1? There's only 20 or so races every year. Why should one country get 3 races when other races and racetracks like Germany, they haven't had a race in a couple of years? And then there's other countries who have lost races over the past 6-7 years. Malaysia, I think India is one of them. So some of these countries who have lost races, and I think people like the races there, they don't have races anymore, but some countries one country, the United States, gets 3 races, and the surging popularity of F1 in the United States, thanks to Drive to Survive, I think plays a factor into that. There was a record attendance at the U.S. Grand Prix this year in Austin. There was a record viewership in the U.S. this year. I mean, the U.S. is very much into F1 right now, it's safe to say. And I think the U.S. and F1 are both trying to take advantage of that, having races in different parts of the country. I mean, the U.S. is a pretty big country, especially, compared to European countries. It's a pretty big country in terms of space between the races. Just from Texas, Austin to Florida, Miami, and then you got Las Vegas all the way on the other side of the country compared to Miami. So you got 3 different regions, 3 different races with 3 very different cities and 3 very different looking racetracks. Miami, you're going to go around a football stadium. You're going to have palm trees and, you know, the beach kind of feel. I don't think it's right on the beach, but, you know, you got that beach kind of feel. It's going to be in May, whereas COTA is a designed racetrack. That is a track that was built on a hill. It's a racetrack. That's its purpose, whereas Miami, sure, they're paving up a racetrack and stuff, but there's roads there. It's kind of a street circuit. Las Vegas would be an actual street circuit. It would be on one of the most iconic roads, not only in Las Vegas, but probably in the U.S., I would want to say. Las Vegas is a big city. It's, the entertainment capital of the world, and gambling capital of the world, I think. Sin City, whatever you want to call it. I mean, Las Vegas is crazy. They got the Strip, which is an iconic place. Having F1 race cars go down there on a race, I think that'd be pretty cool. Now, as for the logistics, I think it'd be difficult because the Strip is quite a busy place all the time, except for that one time during COVID when they actually shut it down. But other than that, it's a pretty busy place at all hours of the day. So that's going to be the most interesting part. I think they also have to like repave and like cover up the manholes, because if the cars go over it, it would like throw them up or something. So they have to repave, they have to cover up the manholes, they have to do some things to the actual Strip, the street itself, first of all. And then they also, you know, how would they close down roads in Las Vegas? How would they block off a chunk of Las Vegas and the most the most busy part of Las Vegas, push people away and say, all right, if you want to go to a casino, you got to go the long way. That's what I'm intrigued in, how they're going to do that. Like, how are you going to tell people, no, you can't go to the casino? How are you going to tell people, no, you got to pay a bunch of money for a ticket to watch a race in order to go to the casino? I'm very curious to how that's going to work out. I'm assuming whenever this race happens, the hotels that are like attached to the casinos, they're going to have skyrocketed prices so that people don't just get like a normal priced hotel room and can just watch the race from like the 15th floor of a hotel. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those logistics get knocked out. It'll be interesting to see what the circuit actually looks like. But if it's actually on the Strip, that will be very interesting. And if the Strip is like the front stretch, where would they put the pits? Would they use like, because the Strip, there's like a median in the middle, so would they do like the left side would be the front stretch, the right side would be the pits? Like, I'm very curious to how they would actually like get this together and make it work. I'm rambling, I know, but I'm just throwing ideas out there, just trying to get people thinking. But very curious to see how this would work out. You definitely, if this race happens, I don't know what the racing would be good, because A, we don't know what the circuit would be like. B, we don't know what the new cars are going to race like. But I'm very curious to see what is going to actually come out of this. It sounds like it's going to happen. But, you know, I really don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know what the circuit's going to look like. But I think it's going to have a lot of cool pictures. Vegas at night is very bright. You're going to have a lot of cool pictures, you know, with the water fountains at the Bellagio. You're going to have the picture of, like, Lewis Hamilton going by and get a picture of his car with water fountains spewing in the background. And they have like different themed casinos. So you have like a French Paris casino. You got like a mini Eiffel, well, not a mini Eiffel Tower, but compared to the real Eiffel Tower, it's a mini Eiffel Tower. So you might have a picture of a Ferrari in front of the Eiffel Tower. They got like a New York themed one. You might have like a McLaren in front of the Empire State Building. That's kind of cool-ish, I guess. But I'm very curious to see how this works out. And I think during one of the press conferences, I can't remember if it was Ricardo or Lewis Hamilton who said, when someone asked, where would you want to see a race in the world, someone said Las Vegas. So one of those guys is happy. But yeah, just very interesting. Those are my thoughts. Those are some of the facts of what's coming together. But if that race is announced, I'll be here to tell you. That would be a fun race, I tell you what. I mean, I don't know what the circuit would look like, but it would just be, the whole scene would be fun. The excitement would be fun. I mean, Las Vegas, the Strip, that would just be that'd be a heck of a race. The hype behind the race weekend, I don't know if it would take over the U.S. Grand Prix slot or if they would just add it as a completely third race. But anyways, I've rambled on too long here now. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, leave a like, all that stuff. And we're almost a week away from NASCAR. That's right. Next week, the Busch Clash at the LA Coliseum in a football stadium. That's crazy. But yeah, we'll talk about paint schemes some more this week. I'll do another one of those, and then we'll talk about the Clash.